is a mogul? A mogul is a person who dominates an enterprise or industry. We've been taught that domination looks like war, destruction, and loss. But domination is nothing more than having a commanding influence. So whether you're in your boardroom or your home office, your cubicle or your conference room, we come to dominate. As we influence each other, we will change our world. This road can be lonely and free time few, but be encouraged because you're no longer alone. Welcome to Mogul in the Making Masterclass. Hey there, moguls in the making, and happy holidays on this last Monday of 2020. What an amazingly crazy year this was. And we are in all things trying to figure out how to balance things out when things are very uncertain and when we are just a little bit unaware of what the next step or next day or next moment is going to hold. So tonight is all about finding balance in your personal and professional life. And whether it's your brand, your business, or even your relationship, everyone needs to find a way to fit all aspects into their life in order to find fulfillment and joy. So to all of the moguls in the making out there who are looking to take their dream to the next level, tonight's talk is for you. And I'm so glad because we got some amazing and dynamic ladies coming on to talk with us tonight. Let me go ahead and bring them in as we get started and let them tell you a little bit about what they do. First up, we have Miss Taryn. Good. So glad to have you on today. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being on. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about what you do and how you do it?
All right. So I'm going to make it short and sweet. So I am moving into a space of helping professional athletes improve their relationship with money and spending habits as a financial therapist. But I am also a member of the government acquisition workforce for the federal government. So
that's awesome. Good stuff. I like that. And we also want to bring in our other great and amazing leader, Miss Ayanah. How are you today? Welcome in.
Hi, I'm fine. How are y'all?
Great. Thank you so much for being on with us. Tell everybody about what you do and how you do it.
So I'm Ayanah Hanaya. I am a business solution specialist. I'm an entrepreneur. I own 7 businesses, and I'm a master cosmetologist.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Well, thank you for being on. That's an amazing resume. And I want to ask both of you a little bit before we dive into the particular topic, a little bit about how you got started and what was your motivation. So I know for you, Taryn, you're moving into a space where you're specializing in the professional athlete space. How did you get into that?
So I've loved sports probably since as old as I can remember. My affinity for hating the Steelers, it runs really, really deep, going back to middle school. But being around sports growing up, I got to see the many layers working on, I would say, the business side. Even though I was still in school, I later learned that, that was the business side. And just seeing how different athletes, their stories, obviously we know the statistics about them going broke, but not enough attention is paid to how they're taken advantage of and preyed on as early elite athletes as, middle school, even sometimes as early as elementary school. So just seeing the different journeys throughout my life and my experience and passion for sports, that's kind of how I bridged the gap.
That's really good. And that's very true. I mean, I know a lot of people who I was an athlete for a short amount of time in college. And I remember just the amount of money that's made on the back of athletes. And so they get used to kind of being taken advantage of in that sense. So definitely understand and appreciate the work that you're doing in that space. What about for you, Ayanah? How did you get started with your 7 businesses? I don't even know how you tell the story with 7 businesses, but try if you can. How did you get started with what you're doing?
The truth is, I used to be a manager in retail, and I had my son. And I took 3 months off of work. And when I went back to work, my son actually had to be rushed to the hospital. And I remember calling my regional manager, and I'm like, I know this is my first day back. I have to leave. My son's in the hospital. And she was like, oh, could your mom or somebody else go? And I hung up the phone and I left. I was like, I'm never ever gonna be in a position where somebody tells me I can't get to my son. And it was very like impulsive, honestly. It was very impulsive. But something just took over me, and I'm like, oh no, nobody's about to tell me I can go, see my baby. And that was it. That was 8 years ago, and it's just been like this.
That's
ever since. Yeah.
That's big. I look. Sometimes life will push you out before you want to step out. So that's how it flows, and that's awesome. I'm glad that your story has that layer, especially attached to something that's a part of your DNA, your son. So that's a beautiful thing as well. Again, thank you for both for being on. I'm really looking forward to talking more about this, because for a lot of us, we are trying to balance this COVID situation, our friendships, our relationships, trying to figure out our businesses' next moves, and at the same time do some self-care work as well, and some R&R that's much needed on a daily basis. So for you, Taryn, how do you balance it all? How do you balance everything that's on your plate?
I'm a very compartmentalized person. Time blocking definitely helps when I know there's a lot that needs to be done in different facets at the same time or within the same time frame. So I'm really good at time blocking, but I also am a faithful member of the nap committee. I take my naps. I take them very seriously. Sometimes they're short power naps. Sometimes they're a little long-winded, but that is something that definitely keeps me in balance, because if I find myself where I'm staying up later, I know that I still need to get adequate sleep. So sometimes it comes throughout the day.
I love it. I love it. What about for you, Ayanah? Well, how do you balance all of the 7 businesses and everything else that you have to do, being a mother and taking care of yourself as well?
Honestly, I plan everything. Like, I am a to-do list person. And it sounds crazy, but in my to-do list, it'll have like, spend an hour with your son. You know what I mean? It'll have his name, but spend an hour with your son. Or it'll be like, try to, like Taryn said, try to take a nap. Or I even have to write down on my schedule, like, to eat. Because sometimes I'll be so busy and I like sip coffee all day. And I'm like, oh, it's 7 o'clock. Like, I didn't even eat any food. So I honestly, I swear by a planner and my Google Calendar to-do list, because without both, I'd be like all over the place.
I can attest to that wholeheartedly. Look, let me tell you something. Mine looks just like that, because I will literally schedule just about everything. If I can, I will put bathroom breaks in, because it's that important to really be able to manage your life the way you want it. That's how you're able to fit things in, right? Yeah. So I use that tactic too. So I'm glad to hear I'm not crazy and somebody else is doing that. But I'm like you, Taryn. I do compartmentalize a lot. I learn how to really figure out what it is that's most important and fit it in its proper place. How do you decide, Taryn, what's most important for you and what gets the most time and attention on your schedule?
It definitely depends on the season that I'm in. So right now I'm in a season of, it's very slow at work, but I'm also working on some infrastructure background things on my business. So right now it's prioritizing my personal development and trying to write as much as I can in terms of planning content. It's something that I don't like, but I think I'm kind of good at it. So just spending time in that regard and just taking time for myself, watching TV. I am binge worthy. Depending upon the show, I can definitely be a binge watcher, but I take onus in that. Some people, they try to hide from it. Some people, they feel shame because they feel as though, oh, if I wasn't working, or someone saying, oh, turn the TV off, because if you weren't watching TV, you could be this further along. Your journey is your journey. Take time for yourself and your present. I think that there's anything that 2020 taught all of us should be, take comfort, or don't feel ashamed, or don't run from being still. Don't feel like you always have to be busy, and emotion because sometimes taking that pause will allow you to see or redirect your path and what motion you need to create for yourself.
That's good. That's really good. I will tell you, I will find a good Netflix series and hunker down, and I will get my very bad snacks, and I will just have a good old time because I feel like that's healthy. You need, people. It's cheaper too because I know I have friends that do retail therapy, and they spend their whole Christmas budget twice. So a little bit of resting in your own home with the Netflix you already pay for is perfectly fine with me. And there is a piece of shame that I think I would love to address here in a little bit about that, because there is some shame when you're an entrepreneur that if you're not posting that you're always doing something on your grind, hustling, doing this, figuring out, like you said, a new strategy, planning out your account. If you're not always posting that, people are like, well, how do you do your business? And it's so do you experience that, Ayanah?
I do. I experience where if I'm like, yeah, I've been watching this show, and people are like, oh, well, you could have been done with your XYZ. And I'm like, first of all, no. I'm like, I need time to just do nothing. It's healthy. I think I did go through a period where early on where I felt like if I was, walking around the mall or if I was browsing online, that like I'm wasting valuable time. But in, reality, that's valuable time that I need. That's like a mental space that I need to be in where I'm not always, in hustle, hustle, hustle mode. Because early on, I used to be one of those entrepreneurs that's like, girl, if you sleep, like you ain't getting nothing done. You know what I mean? But it's like, no. I need to sleep because I won't be able to get anything done if I don't. So yeah, I feel that. I love that.
Oh, good. Yeah, I get it. Like I think it's just healthy overall. But why do you feel
Yeah.
like, Taryn, that people have that perception of entrepreneurs, especially? I don't really hear them say that too much about people 9 to 5, but especially entrepreneurs. Why do you feel like that impression is there to put stress on entrepreneurs to always be working?
Um, some of it is what spilled from successful people who have attained the lifestyle or the accomplishments that other entrepreneurs seek. Some of it is not knowing what works well for you. So underestimating what personal development actually looks like for you and what contributes to your success. Granted, you might be the person that needs to spend seasons, short time frames where you're burning the midnight oil, you're doing extra, but it's only to get to a certain milestone. It's not something that you should be continuing throughout, and that should set the precedent for your entrepreneurial journey.
That's a strong point. There are those moments and seasons where you got to work a little harder to get what you need and finish a project. Like when I was finishing my last book, I think I had set a hard date to have it done. And I remember taking an unexpected vacation due to a death in the family. And so that put me behind a week. And I was like, well, I got to catch up. So hustled on that. But every other time, it's like after that, I'm back to regular mode. I think that's really healthy. And like, I think it's great to point out you can do both, but you really shouldn't do one or the other. But both should be in your category. And that's how you succeed. I think that's great. As somebody who's in athletics, about sprinting versus doing a marathon, and it's two different ways that you move and prepare. What about for you, Ayanah? Why do you feel like it's part of the plight of entrepreneurs to hear objections to them actually taking downtime?
Part of what Taryn said about how, there's so many people who are so advanced in this and they stress like, work 30-hour days, even, it's 24 hours on a day, but work 30-hour days so you can live this lifestyle. And, a lot of times I think that people who are not entrepreneurs, they have a really, really hard time processing what it's like to be an entrepreneur. Like I remember one thing I had to stop doing was telling everybody like what my plans were, because to them it was so like, what? You can't, how? And they're like, you're not gonna ever sleep, or you're gonna have to, work so hard. You're gonna have to get a third job and it's so much, I think, that other people think what, your reality should be. And then sometimes when you step back and you're like, you know what? Okay, I don't need to work 12 hours a day to get 2 hours of work done. I can, block off certain times to do, you know, point A and then block off a time to do point B. Like, I don't have to be in this, this rat race and just living on coffee every day just to get by, and I think that
Yes.
People who were, here before us doing this, it wasn't as, televised and social media wasn't around. So I think that they had a whole lot of times where they just did nothing to do, but that's not what we see. We always see like the constant grind, the constant team, no sleep, no days off, 24/7. And so it makes us feel that pressure to do the same.
So with that, Ayanah, what does balance look like in your life?
So for me, balance looks like not overworking myself. I've learned that I'm a night person. I'm not a morning person. So sometimes I'll do most of my work at night. And if I'm home during the day, like I work 3 days at my salon and I have 4 days home, which was difficult to do at first. I used to be like a 6 day a week hairstylist. And I'm like, okay, I need to make this work for me, not me work for this. So I think the balance for me came from understanding that like, I want money to work for me. I don't want to work so hard for money. And then once I kind of understood that that was more of what my goal was, and that like the freedom and the time to do what I wanted to was more of my goal than the money, then that's where the balance came in at. And I had to really like think about like, okay, what's more important to me? Is it, being able to say I'm gonna work here today or do this today, or is it more important to be like, oh, I bought this bag? You know what I mean? So for me, balance came in when I had to realize what meant more to me. And once I learned that money can work for you, you don't have to work for money. That's what really helped me have a nice balance. And I stopped trading so much of my time for a dollar. That helped me. And I
That's
really
good.
like what Taryn said about the season thing. I need to write that down about your season. You work harder in a certain season than you do in the others. That's a good point, because you do. Like I have worked really, really hard for like 3 months straight, and been 3 months in a row. I'm reaping the benefits of it, so I don't have to work so hard. So I like that. I gotta write that down.
No, yeah, write that down. That was a good point, and I appreciate you saying that, because for a lot of us, we don't consider that it's okay to have a season where you're like in hibernation a bit, where you're what you stored up in the season where there was reaping, that you actually could live on that for a while. It's what most teachers who don't work summer school that they're doing, that they're living off of the months that they're working extra hard, taking home papers and grading and doing all that work off the books, just to come back, and have that summer school break. So that's a great example of that. And I don't think we plan that enough. I think it kind of happens, but to your point there, Karen, I think it's really healthy to actually work that in. What does your balanced life look like, Taryn?
Under normal circumstances, it looks like a cycle of work, time for myself, vacation, because those are mutually exclusive, right? Time for myself, then vacation, and time for myself again, and then there's a rinse and repeat factor. I do like what Ayanah said about realizing the power of not trading time for money. That was something pivotal that I learned. Probably my earliest lessons, I would probably say, is 2014, and starting to put different systems in place so that I can say, yes, I might not have gone to work today, but I still got paid in other ways. So
that's good. Yes, I let me tell you, I have automated so many things in my business because of that. I learned not to be doing so much stuff on my own. I learned to, when I'm creating content, because I do all of my own graphics, I'm doing a whole bunch at one time, as opposed to opening it up, closing the program down, and the next day opening it up, closing it down for the no. We're gonna batch all of that, because it's just easier when you're already in the mindset, and so you get more done in less time, and just cutting out some of the fat that can be lost in not planning. Sometimes you waste more time because you just didn't plan Like, you just didn't sit down and say, you know what, I'm 10 times faster when I do these 5 scripts in one day, or when I like Ayanah, when you go ahead and knock out all your clients in 3 days, you feel more efficient than trying to spread them out over 6, and then you have more of your life back. So learning that stuff is paramount, and learning to automate things. I think that's something, especially in the African American community. I think we're taught so much to work hard for it, to do it on your own, to go around. And it's like you feel like you're cheating if there's a system in place that can take some of the busy work out for you. And it's not cheating. Get you somebody on Fiverr to do something for you. Get you, automate us. Find a system that somebody click a button and it does 3 steps for you, so you don't have to manually do it. And be willing to pay for that, because honestly, it makes that little bit of time that you're like, well, I could just send the email to the person. That all that time, it adds up, and that stuff is money. I'm promising you that. Have you been able to automate anything in your life, Taryn, that helps you?
So far, the booking process is definitely automated for calls and sessions. Right now, there's not much else that needs to be automated yet, but I do have a list of things to start to put into place for 2021.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, definitely booking is probably one of the easiest things to really start getting set up. One of the tools I've found, which has been working for me, is HoneyBook. It's actually only $1 right now. And that's been really, really good at managing clients. You can have your appointments in there. You can set your actually has automations on messaging and all of that. So it's been a beautiful platform that I happened upon. What about for you, Ayanah? Are you able to automate anything in your 7 businesses?
Yes. I have to. Yes. I automate everything: blog posts, Instagram posts, Pinterest posts. I have an assistant. You mentioned earlier how in the Black community it's so like you just have to do all the work, like the struggle before the success. And I do believe that, especially for entrepreneurs, there is a lot of struggle, but to me, the best thing I could have invested in was an assistant and just paying for tools to just automate everything. So, because goodness, it drives you crazy trying to do everything, by yourself. And another thing for emails, I don't automate emails. So you have to tell me how you do that. But I'm really, really into now, like blocking sessions. Like, I'm like, all right, I'm not checking my email unless it's 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m. That's it. Because I'm the type who will grab my phone to check my email like every 15 minutes. And I'm like, no, bad habit. Don't do that. Or Instagram, I'm like, I'll get on, I'm like just scrolling away, and next thing I know, like hours pass, and I'm like, this is not productive. You know what I mean? Unless it's in that slot for my chill time. Right. So yes, I automate everything. I haven't used HoneyBook, but I do use Tailwind and Later. And I'm a Fiverr junkie. I think Fiverr is amazing, and I tell people about it, and they're like, oh, I don't want to pay somebody to do that. But I'm like, if I can tell you what I need and you could just do it and I don't have to do it, that's, to me, that's what it's all about, So yeah, I love it.
I paid somebody on Fiverr $100, and they were able to make a cover and to format the book. And that was the best. It was 130, sorry. And so it was the best $130 I spent, because that process alone would have taken me a week to do on my own. And this is what they do. So they're faster. I got it back in 2 days, and I saved myself all of that time. I would have been up late night and been up early morning trying to get it all done, trying to still take client calls and still trying to live my best life and have fun, all of that. I would have been stressed. So Fiverr.
Too much.
Yeah, it's too much. And the assistant piece, I'm glad you said, because one of the best pieces of advice someone gave me, now you ladies know because you got booked through my PR team, but one of the best decisions I ever made was to get a team of people to help, because look, every year I could do everything on my own. I could definitely have DM both of you. I could have said, hey, come on the show. But that would have been all time that I needed to check back, respond, make sure y'all are good, send out the information, now I'm free to do other things. And having an assistant, having a team, starting with your first person, even if it's a great piece of advice somebody gave me was a virtual assistant. Getting somebody who either they are a dedicated virtual assistant, one person, or they are there's plenty of other apps out there where they'll give you a personal assistant to do little things for you that can free up your day, and maybe $10 to go and make sure that your new dentist appointment is all set up and you find a new dentist. Like little things like that, that just really sitting on hold for an hour to try to schedule an appointment that now has worked out the time of your day and messed up your whole schedule, right? So we have to lose that taboo, that stigma of not getting help and feeling like we are somehow an imposter if we had some support along the way. Because I tell you, every great person had somebody helping them. So I'm glad both of you agree with that and definitely understand that. And so with everything happening right now, how do you deal with life's uncertainty? Because it's really hard to plan a lot with how uncertain everything in life is with COVID, with just COVID's enough to just talk about that. So how do you deal with the uncertainty that's happening in the world and the society? Taryn, how do you deal with it with your business?
I tend to keep in mind that I can only control what I can control. Mm. And I think the more that you plan and forecast for the things that are within your reasonable control, that's what you should focus on. Putting too much intention onto what could happen, what should happen, what would happen, if then that. It's counterproductive to you making any progress of what you want to see, the direction you want to grow into. So just maintaining what you can control. Like I can control what research I do, what outreach I do, what I actually write or speak. There are other factors. It has nothing to do with me. So I'm perfectly fine acknowledging that has nothing to do with me.
No, that's a great point. Being able to take your hands of the control of life and being able to be flexible. I think people will often think, oh, you scheduled everything, so are you flexible? It's like, yes, both and. This schedule is subject to change, like with the little asterisk down there. So, if something comes up or something needs to come up, it can change. Right. But having a plan doesn't mean you are hell bent on keeping it. It just means it's a guide. So I'm glad you said it like that, because that's a great point. A lot of people lose that flexibility in being a planner. And so I feel like you have to be one or the other in that regard. What about for you, Ayanah? What do you feel about handling life that's so unpredictable right now with all that you're doing?
Similar to Taryn, I just deal with what I can. I've learned that stress really takes a toll on my body, unfortunately. So I have to actually practice and work hard to not stress, because I won't feel it mentally, but then the next thing you know, I'll be sick for a week, or I'll be in pain, or I'll have a migraine, and I'm like, okay, I'm stressed out. So similar, I do the same thing. I deal with what I know, I can control, and the things that I can't control, I just give it to God. You know what I mean? I can't stress about it because it's above, it's above me now. Like I can't, so the same thing, I do that. And honestly, in the midst of all of this, I have really started to focus on things that I had been too busy to do before. You had mentioned earlier about COVID really forcing people to be still, and so for me, I didn't even realize how, I guess, on go I had been all this time until COVID happened. And I was like, oh, I have to just sit still. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. This is odd to just do nothing. So I've just been working on things that I always wanted to, but I felt like I'll have time for it later. And I'm like, well, there might not be a later. So let me, focus on these other things now, and, make time for it now. And like she said, just focus on what, is in front of me.
That's good. Yeah, that is a necessary thing to focus on, because for a lot of us, we honestly are just not good at sitting down and being still. And I struggle with it sometimes. I'll say I'm going to watch Netflix, and then I'm checking emails, and then I'm trying to watch the TV over my phone because I'm trying to like, responding to people who are reaching out and all of that. And so, similar to you, Ayanah, going back to something you said earlier about blocking out time, I certainly have had to learn to do that because I will literally check I have three inboxes, and I will check all three all day. And to flip back and forth through each one, I'll be like, okay, there's one here, okay, and then okay, none here, but then there's one here, and then you get lost in it because it seems as soon as I reply to one, it's like another one pops in a different inbox. So it's just like I'm on all day. So I've learned that from very influential people to have those dedicated times so I could understand better how you're able to run 7 businesses because of those kind of practices. You have to have some measure of a standard, but also some restraint to be able to hold back when you get that itch, that Instagram itch, that Facebook itch. When you get it, it's like, no, I'm not going to check it. I hear you. I've learned. I don't know about you, but I don't just even use vibrate. I go to silent mode, and I have the most important people in my life. They can break through silent mode on my phone, but other than that, when I go into silent mode, you are silenced, and I don't touch it. So I don't know if y'all do something similar to that. Either of you do anything like that?
I definitely have a do not disturb period.
Yes.
Look, one and the same. Do not disturb.
Not disturb. I definitely do that on all of my lives. I do that when I'm out with friends, like at a private dinner or something like that. It is do not disturb. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yes, do not disturb. See, everybody don't even, people. I can tell when people are entrepreneurs because they know about do not disturb. I know half the people don't even know what that feature means on their phone. So I'm glad that y'all actually know what that means. Thank you for all of that. That's been some amazing wisdom and advice that you all have shared. I love to also dive into some personal things, even on the Mogul in the Making, because people like to know more about how people built what they built. Go back to your younger self, Taryn, and tell me a little bit about what you were thinking when you said, I want to launch out and be an entrepreneur.
Oh, see, this is easy for me because pretty much my entire life, entrepreneurship, it wasn't beneath me. It was just like, oh, I cringed because my example of entrepreneurship was somebody who was always working, even on vacation. With the invention of the cell phone, I literally saw it and I'm like, why would anybody want to do that? Like, I like to go to work and leave my work at work and come home and relax and do it all over again. But as I got older, certain things became clearer and clearer. And then I ran into a situation at work where it became okay, yeah, now I do understand why people go out and become entrepreneurs and make their own money because no one else is in control except for the investors, the banks, on a capital standpoint. But in terms of what you do day to day, I started to see very clearly, and I said, you know what? I'm in an industry where it's very easy for me to get a job. I'm very blessed in that manner, but I also know that being in DC and the pay rate and keeping my expenses low, I have a great opportunity to kind of set myself up to where I can become a full-time entrepreneur and not be afraid or not doing it where you say you risking it all. So Ayanah, her back was against the wall because it was the betterment of her son. Her family came first. She had no other option, in my opinion. But for me, I don't have to jump and quit. I can do things strategically. So I have a number, I have a metric, and it's 1.5 times my current gross. That's when I'm like, okay, cool, I can be a
right.
Yeah,
but it has to be consistent. It can't be a one time. Oh, I made it. Now I'm out. It's strategic.
That's good. That's good.
I would never to now. It's been interesting.
And I can tell you got that fire in you. So that's a beautiful thing right there. So Ayanah, for you too, like what was it in your younger self that said, entrepreneurship? Let's try that.
Honestly, I knew since I was younger that I always wanted to have businesses. I thought more like I would do franchise stuff. I was really into managing, and in my mind, I was telling my dad, like, I'm gonna own all these businesses and like retire you early and stuff. So I thought like I'd own a Dunkin' Donuts, or I'm from Jersey. I'm like, I'm gonna own a Dunkin' Donuts, a White Castle. I'm gonna
Come
travel and
on,
be a
White
regional
Castle.
manager in retail. Like I thought all these yeah, I love White Castle. So that's what I thought. And my mom actually has been an entrepreneur all my life. She's had a hair salon since I was, I don't know, like 8 or 9. And my dad has always been real high up in management. So I just always knew like whatever I did, I wanted to be in charge, you know? And I also have always had this attitude of like nothing is beneath me. You know, when I first started entrepreneurship, I went and worked at a warehouse overnight, a BMW warehouse. And my plan was and then I'm gonna do something different. And
Losing you a little bit, Ayanah.
and can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Okay, hear you now. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I was saying I worked at a warehouse, and I remember when I was telling people, they were like, "You work at a warehouse? What about your nails and what about?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I got a plan. I got a plan." You know. So that was another thing I knew, that like entrepreneurship wouldn't be easy, but I felt like no job is beneath me. Like everything is gonna help me to get to where I need to be. So I like what she said about how she had that goal, and it's like for me, I was like, all right, I need to have a little cushion. So let me do the third shift thing, but all day let me work on my bigger goals. So yeah.
Well, that was easy for you because you like nights, so that was convenient, huh? She was like, "I'm not doing no early
Yes.
morning shift."
Yep.
She said, "That is out.
At
No,
all.
thank you.
Yes.
No, thank you." Yes. Well, thank you for sharing your stories. I'm always curious about people and offering the value that for those who are going to watch this back or are watching now to really hear and learn the diversity of what makes people start, what makes them keep going, what fuels you, Taryn, to keep going in this business thing that we're in.
My ideal of living a life of autonomy and being a philanthropist. So, someone very wise told me many years ago that without the seed money, without the substantial bank account, you're just a humanitarian. Like, yes, you're giving back. Yes, you're volunteering. Yes, you're donating. But to live a life of philanthropy is a different level. So, in my mind, I'm already there. It's funny. Some of my friends say in my former life, I was a wealthy old white woman.
Yes. Yes.
So I think, yes, I think of my life in that regard. So just being able to be and do what I want is what keeps me going.
All right. I like that wealthy old white woman. I want some old white woman money.
Right,
Um,
right.
Make me a trust fund baby. All right. So, Ayanah, what about for you? What keeps you motivated? What keeps your fire going to keep going on 7 businesses as a mother?
Well, if I could tell you the truth, I love when those little ka-ching sounds go off like at night when I'm doing nothing.
Isn't that something?
Be
That is such a
completely
good feeling.
honest with y'all, right? Yeah, it's like I
No,
won't lie. I love when I'm like cooking dinner and it's like ka-ching, 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 and I'm like, okay, girl, you did that. So that's honestly first. I really do love that. And then second, really, almost all of my businesses are around helping people. And once I learned that I truly, genuinely, really like helping people, that's when everything kind of started falling into place. Like one of my businesses, we build websites, and it's like that's helping people get their business off the ground. Even from there, I'm making women, beautiful, or if it's, whatever it is, I realized like, okay, everything I do helps other people. So what Taryn said about, just being a good person to people, I found that I really, really like helping people in so many different areas. And that's what keeps me going. That is.
That's awesome. Last big
That and
question
no
here. We're
ka-ching.
going to a lightning round, if you will. But if you could tell yourself something around your younger self something about balancing your younger self's life, what would you say to yourself, Taryn?
Oh, that's good. Um, put yourself first.
Mm,
That's my
that's
one
good.
thing. Put yourself first.
That's good. That's good. Little self-love on that thing. I like that. I'm all about that. What about for you, Ayanah? What would you say to your younger self in reference to really managing your life and balancing it all?
I would say um, you don't have to listen to what other people say.
Mm, yes, I
That was
agree
mine.
wholeheartedly with
Because I feel like there are a lot of things I might have started sooner or done earlier if I didn't listen to what other people thought were right for me. You know what I mean? So that would be
that.
a big thing. I would say just filter out the background noise and do you, boo.
Do you boo? Yeah, no, that's right. I love that. Well, here's our lightning round before we close up the day. It's a short thing I like to do with my guests, and all you have to do is answer with a word or phrase, whatever depends on the statement. So it's just a word or phrase. And I'll start with Ayanah since I've been starting with Taryn the whole time on the questions. She's been
Okay.
doing such a good job going first. Here's the first one. I'll give you an example. I am from, and you would just answer. What would your answer be, Ayanah? I am from.
I am from, hmm,
Where were you born?
I'm from determination. Oh, I'm from Jersey. I
She was
thought
getting
you meant
real
like something deep.
philosophical.
I
I was
thought it was
like,
something
all right.
deep. My
I
bad, my
think she
bad.
didn't understand.
I'm from Jersey. I thought you wanted like a deep answer.
No, no, we'll get
I'm
deep in
from
a minute. That
Jersey.
was a practice round. That was an easy
Okay.
one. All right. So Jersey in the house. What about for you, Taryn? I am
Jersey.
from
Baltimore.
Baltimore. We got some Northerners in the house. I love me some be more up there. All right, so you got a taste of it. Let's go here. I am most organized when, Ayanah.
Um, I have music on and it's nighttime and I have coffee in my hand.
Nice. I am most organized when, Taryn.
Packing for vacation.
Ooh. She says she trying to make sure she get there and get everything in she needs. I know that's right. I know some people. My friend just got into Atlanta and the suitcase looked like he was moving for 3 weeks. I was like, look, let me tell you something. I can't do that. Can't even carry your own suitcase. Um, the purpose of forgiveness is, Ayanah.
To heal yourself.
Nice. What about for
That's
you?
my answer. Mine was to heal within.
It can be the same. It can be the same. Don't let it happen too much. But it can be the same for this one. That's cool. Let's see. Next one. I am living in my purpose when, Ayanah.
I'm helping others.
Nice. I am living in my purpose when,
I'm
Taryn.
honest with myself.
That's good. All right. Let's see. My biggest obstacle to peace is, Ayanah,
You said my biggest obstacle to what?
to peace.
To peace. Ooh,
Mm,
myself.
mm.
I'm
That
probably my biggest obstacle.
that mind be working real against you, huh?
Yeah.
Um, I understand. I know that feeling. What's the biggest obstacle to your peace, Taryn?
I'm an overthinker.
Mm. I find that a lot of entrepreneurs have that similar thing where it's their own selves that really beat them down more than what anybody else says or reacts to or does. It's more about them and how you're thinking and what you're saying to yourself
Right.
and what music is playing in your head when you are speaking to yourself. It is that self-thinking, that self-talk that ends up messing you up more than anything else. I'm telling you. So I'm glad to hear you ladies at least admit that because that is an obstacle to a piece that a lot of entrepreneurs deal with. What's the most difficult decision you've made to fulfill purpose, Ayanah?
Um, the most difficult decision I made. Honestly, probably accepting the fact that it's okay to want more. I feel
Yeah.
like for a long time, I felt like it wasn't okay to want so much or to have such big goals, and that I should, just be okay with whatever was in my bubble. But yeah, letting myself be okay with just wanting.
That's nice. What about for you, Miss Taryn?
Um, I'm not sure. And I know this is supposed to be a lightning round, but I'm not sure.
That's okay. You can also not be sure. But have you ever had to experience a moment where you had to make a difficult decision for your life?
I feel like that's every day.
Right.
What I
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right. Every day.
I would say being selfish, like putting myself and my personal needs above the needs of others.
That's good. And I'm glad you used the word selfish and not try to beat around it, because I know a lot of people don't like to use the word selfish because it has a negative connotation. But really, selfishness is what I actually talk about in the phases of love. Singleness is selfishness, because when you are single and you are trying to figure out what you really want out of life and what you want out of something, and what you're trying to fall in love with you more. And the only way to really love something is to give it your energy, your time, your effort, and you got to hone in on it. And the it is you. So, if you're building a business and it's all you and you're your own team, then you really have to use that time to feed back into you like you would your teammates, right? Like if you had staff, you would have to give them time, listen to them, make sure you're doing reports, check in on them, make sure they're doing all right. It's the same thing. You got to do it yourself. And I think sometimes we forget that. So I'm glad you used the word selfish. Last one, and this is a fun one. What's the one word that describes why you are here, Ayanah?
Um, mm, I don't know. Inspiration.
All right. Well, that's funny because
That
Renee just posted, not that one. Renee just posted that. So that's a good point. I guess you know yourself a little bit. And then for you,
Oh, she said,
Taryn, what about for you? What's the one word that would describe why you are here?
I'm a shifter.
That's good. Shifter. Come on, shift the atmosphere. Felt a little churchy on that one. I liked it. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for being on today. I'm so glad that we got a chance to talk really and help somebody out there. Not just somebody. I enjoyed this conversation too. I learned a lot from you all, like compartmentalizing and making sure I plan out even more of my day. Ayanah's going to make me reach a little higher on that one. But you all have been brilliant and shared so much. I would love for you to go ahead and share how people can find and follow you and more of the work you do. Go ahead, Ayanah. Tell us where you are and where you can be found.
So you can find me on Instagram at Ayanah Hanaya. It's the same across all social media. So the same at Ayanah Hanaya. And or email me, Facebook, all that good stuff. All my businesses are for helping people, whether it's shipping supplies or building websites or coaching. Literally, I probably have something that can help you in your business or your everyday life.
Love it. Thank you for that. And what about for you, Taryn? How can the people find you?
Yeah, the best way to find me is Instagram, on LinkedIn. My Instagram is at It's Taryn's World. It's the same on all social media platforms. And my first and last name on LinkedIn. And my DMs are open.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Taryn. Thank you again, Ayanah. Y'all have been Awesome. Do you want to give a final word to anybody who is out there and listening about managing and balancing their time?
My final remark would be find your natural course of recharge. It's very important not to create things that you feel rejuvenate you, but really find what's innate to your body and your mind.
Ooh, that's good. That was good. So ultimately, learn your self-love language, and then you'll be able to recharge the best way. I like that. What about for you, Ayanah? What is your final thought or final word?
My final thing would be like, let's see, just don't be afraid to schedule and write down everything. I know it sounds silly, but I used to feel really silly writing like, eat food or spend an hour with your son. I know it sounds crazy. And that's what I would think, like, this is ridiculous that I'm writing this. But I would say when you write things, I feel like it comes to life. Like you make it real when you write down. So just write it down and don't feel silly about it and hang it up if you need to, check it off. But make sure you can see what all of your goals are and then balance it out from there.
I love it. Thank you again for that. My final word would be a little scheduling tip that a friend gave me who I deeply respect. And they said at the top of the day, you write out everything that you want to accomplish that day. And then you, on a separate sheet, write the most important thing that you need to accomplish that day, and you hide the rest. And you don't pull out that other sheet, the first sheet that has everything on it, until you have been able to mark out that first thing. And then from there, you make the next thing the most important thing, and you hide it again. And so that way, your mind is only occupied on one thing at a time instead of trying to accomplish a lot, which wastes your mental energy and causes you to move ultimately slower, even though you're not trying to. So, for everybody out there, thank you for all the moguls in the making out there. I got some great moguls right here with me. For all of you who are out there looking to do better, to grow, and to aspire even higher in your daily dreams, keep tuning in. And thank you so much for being a part of Mogul in the Making. I was on today with the amazing Taryn and the amazing Ayanah. Thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, and your grace. I look forward to talking with you all a little bit more offline. And have a beautiful day and a beautiful night. And everybody, Happy New Year to you. Enjoy the remainder of your holidays. And God bless you in this new year. I'm believing for better than this crazy ass one. All right. See y'all later. Everybody,